So, did all the powerlifting start with you?
I guess so, yes.
Was it just how did you get started? What year and what got you into it?
I was 36 years old when I started, and I was weighing a little more than I wanted to. I was weighing a little over 200, and I'm only 5'8". So a young man was teaching math in the community college where I was teaching, and he wanted to gain weight, and I wanted to lose weight. So we started doing some exercises. Right. We had Sears and Roebuck weights to start with, the concrete, plastic, and 360 pounds was all we get on the bar. Went to my first meet in, I guess it was 66 in Kansas City, and all I knew I could lift was 360. So I squatted 360 and benched 2 1/4, I think. And
was this like an AAU or is it?
It was AAU, yes. Deadlifted 425 in the first meet.
That surprised you because you had.
I didn't know how much I could lift. There were only 2 in my class, and I took second. Had another meet in Miami, Oklahoma, and there were 7 of us in the class, and I took third, and found out I couldn't beat somebody, and that's when I got hooked.
You got serious then.
Yeah.
So you bought some more Sears and Roebuck weights? Or?
Bought a used set of York, and it lasted just a long time.
But you were basically training at home, no gym at that time, or?
I'm sorry?
Were you training at home with your weights you bought, or was there gyms around at that time?
We were lifting at the community college. They had a room for us, and held a couple of meets. That was in Neosho, Missouri, at community college there, Crowder College. And I lifted in one of our meets, and that was the last time I ever lifted in the meets that I was putting on. And I just couldn't do justice to it.
Right. So now I read a lot about you guys in NASA.
Yes.
NASA. So yes. Is that where you had most of your success, or that was kind of?
That was later. We went United States Powerlifting Organization, USPA, and it got to the point where there were a lot of drugs.
Right.
And James and I were completely drug-free, and a lot of the people were not happy with the drugs. And Rich Peters started the NASA organization, and we broke off from USPF at that time. I said USPA, didn't I? USPF.
Okay. So what was your biggest accomplishments leading up before he joined in, or was it pretty quick?
James and I
know you had a body. I read you had a bodybuilding background.
Yeah, I started. I was bodybuilding when I was about 22 years old. Then I think in 1977, I met Doc, and 1978 I started lifting with him, and he took me to my first meet. I think he took me to my first meet.
Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City, and I tied for 3rd place against a guy, and he beat me because he was a pound lighter than me. So I didn't get no trophy because 3rd place trophy was high as he went.
Right.
And so the next year we went back again.
You had a mission that time, right?
I got it that time. Because I pulled my first competition, I pulled a 500-pound deadlift. And I hadn't never trained with deadlift in my life. The whole time I lived, I met Doc, and he showed me how to train, how to do it. And from there, it was history. It went on.
What was one of your proudest moments in lifting, as far as maybe a total or a particular lift? Or
Oh, I suspect I'd have to say that my 601 pound squat at 71 was probably one of the big moments.
right? In your prime, what was your biggest squat? 'Cause that sounds huge to me. That sounds ridiculously huge.
I was late on everything.
Right.
I did my lifetime best squat when I was 59,
Well, how much was that?
618.
So you were still right there,
Yeah, yeah.
and
yeah,
you said it's 71?
yeah.
And you've had some big lifts.
Yeah, Mom. The big lift I had, I was 57 years old. It was 772 pounds.
Wow.
That was my second lift. But I went to a third attempt, but I didn't lock it out. It was 802.
He had it well above his knees and
Just couldn't get the hips in it.
didn't get shoulders.
What'd you do at 71?
71, I pulled, in my 70s, I pulled 705 pounds.
That's amazing.
It is,
Also.
so.
That's drug free as far as I'm concerned.
That's it.
That's why we accomplished what we did at the age we did. We did not ever use any drugs.
Hall of Fame.
Okay, and all three of you are Hall of Famers, right?
Right.
So, and I couldn't find a whole lot about you, but I found some good videos. There's YouTube videos you pulling heavy weight. And I've read a little about you about Sportsman of the Year, and actually multiple times, right? In particular, Fed.
He was Athlete of the Decade, 90, and he was Athlete of the Year, 1990.
What'd you do to earn that? Was that
Maybe consistency. I never considered myself a great lifter. I really didn't. I don't know why. You know, at my age, I was competing very well.
what weight class did you compete in?
220 most of the time. First meet was 198, then I went down to 181, lifted 181 for quite a while. And when I began to develop into a decent lifter, went up to 220. Lifted 220 most of the time.
So you had some pretty good mass on you at your height, 5'8".
Yeah, yeah.
So
I had 19-inch arms.
So what did training look like back then? Say you were squatting a particular day. Did you have particular programs or?
We did sixes, mostly sixes, and do 4 or 5 sets of 6. Start out light and wind up with what we could do 6 with. Our philosophy was always stop when you think you could do one more. We never worked to failure.
To avoid injury or just
We did, we go in there on Mondays and squat it. We did heavy squats on Monday. Friday, we did deadlift on Fridays. And we might do lighter deadlift. Then the next Monday, we'll do light squats.
and then heavy?
And that heavy on Friday, because that give you 3 or 4 days to recuperate.
Bench on Wednesday.
Bench on Wednesday.
They didn't believe in no pain, no gain. That was the worst slogan that ever came out for powerlifting, I think.
I think so too.
Right. So that's you. When you had any like a lot of injuries you had to work around, 'cause that seems to be the common theme now. Everybody's injured, or they're
I guess that's what why we accomplished so much. We didn't push ourselves to the limit to hurt ourselves. See,
So that was what I said. We
you might
always
pull a muscle.
save enough strength that you think you can do one more. It's that last one you get hurt on. At least that was my philosophy.
When you when you hurt yourself, you're gonna set yourself back because you can't train then.
Exactly.
So if you never injure yourself, you can train better because you got all that time to train.
Yes, sir. Probably good philosophy. Modern day philosophy seems to be just the opposite. Everybody's trying to get a PR, whether it's for a training period or whatever. Of course, that means you're getting that last pound you can get.
Right.
James or I, neither one ever used more than a one-ply suit. All of our lifts were with one-ply suits.
And the one ply back then was probably a lot different than, because I've read a lot of.
Absolutely.
The single ply suits now today are probably a lot more rigid, just a different quality.
Yeah.
I never, I would be getting ready for competition. I never put my squat suit on. I put my bench, I had a bench shirt, I might put it on. Squat suit, I use the same suit for squats I did in my deadlifts. So I never used them till I got to competition. Then I'd put them on. In my mind, I said, if it's gonna give me an edge, I'll use it there. Which, if I pull squat at 630 pounds in the gym, I may do 20 pounds more than competition without a suit.
Did you get a lot of carryover? What was your best raw squat compared to the suit? How much did you get out of the single ply squat suit? Pretty.
I usually train with sweats on, doing 600 some pounds with sweats on.
Right.
And when I put the squat suit on, I do about 650. I did 652 a couple times.
Yeah.
Just guessing, I never tried to figure it out. I'd say 5%.
Wow.
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Because that year I did that, my biggest lift at 772 pounds, I did a double in the gym with 770 pounds. That got in my head, stuck there, because I knew if I did that in the gym, when I got in the competition, what I could do. And because I got a couple people here be cheering me on, so I could hear Tobey's voice. I don't care how loud, how I can hear Tobey, come on, Jim! I tear it up there.
So you guys have done a lot of big meets and even went to Russia. How did the Russia meet come about?
We both won. I squatted 575 in Russia. That was in 90, so I was 60 then.
The Russians came to Atlanta. They were invited by Rich Peters, and they came to Atlanta, and
Brought a big team.
so interesting. Oh my God, you just can't imagine the gal that came with them, that supposedly was the interpreter. She was KGB. She told them that the only reason that I wanted to wash their uniforms because they'd worn them for 5 days straight, so they didn't smell good. So I wanted to wash them, and she told them that I wouldn't give them back. She told them, we took them to a grocery store. Of course, there were none in Russia. And she told them that we built the grocery store and everything to impress them. Very interesting. Anyhow, after that, then they invited us there. It was a friendship tour.
We went
And
there
that's how we
in
ended up there.
1990.
Yeah, and that was during communism. And then we went back in 93 after communism fell. So it just,
Wow,
we experienced the best of both worlds. It
That was a
incredible.
comparison.
Big changes and
Yeah. First time we were there, there was not a sign of any kind. There'd be a line going into a building. We'd ask our interpreter what they were waiting on. He said, I don't know. So maybe milk, maybe fruit. It was an experience. Second time we went, there was McDonald's, a line almost around the block to get into McDonald's. Coca-Cola signs, Pepsi-Cola signs, Ford signs.
Jim and Daryl were phenomenons in Russia. Jim because he was strong and he was black. Daryl because he was strong and he was old. You know, by standards, he was. He was 60 years old, for God's sakes, and still competing.
When we went back in '93, we lifted in a military gym, and as we went into the weight room to lift, there was a soldier came out of one of the side rooms. It's Dr. Johnson. He remembered me from 3 years before. I had no way of remembering him.
What an experience. What an experience.
So what you got? What was the competition like in Russia? Were they real deal, huh?
They it was kind of amazed that working people could lift like that, I guess. So I did a 722 pounds over there.
And probably without drugs, because they probably did.
That's what they asked me. Said,
Yeah.
"Hey, what you?"
They lifted on the stage in Moscow. And
On the
they were asked,
Olympic
yeah,
stage.
the Olympic stage, they were asked if they wanted steroids.
One of them asked me.
Yeah.
Hey, Go get me something to bring back with me. I don't think so.
That's interesting. But you guys performed well, both won.
Yes.
Our whole team did.
How many lifters were, say, at that competition?
Every weight class.
Yeah.
There was, well, in '93 there were 2 lifters for each. They matched up our lifters
Yes.
with their lifters.
Okay, that's
In
cool.
'90 there were 80 of you guys.
There's a bunch of it.
Yeah, that lifted.
We had one young man that had got electrocuted, and his legs were useless, and they were withered. And he lifted the 148-pound class, but he had a chest that was huge and no legs. They've got a one-legged man to compete against him in the meet. You can't imagine how well they treated us. It was unbelievable. Of course, athletes are always that way at Olympics and so on. But it was quite an experience.
So powerlifting's been a big part of your whole lives, right?
Yes.
Do y'all ever have people come to you and say, "Hey, we heard y'all are great. Can you train us?" Yeah.
Daryl taught a class at the college,
Cool.
so he
17 years.
taught multiple numbers.
Called it powerlifting and bodybuilding.
I actually had a college course in
Yes.
powerlifting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now you guys sponsored a lot, or had a lot of meets here.
About 20 years.
I think there were 19.
Was it
I
19?
think there were 19.
Wow. So that was that NASA?
Yes. That was all NASA.
So in this Blytheville area, right?
Yes.
So it was a pretty big sport back then, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very-
There's still a few lifters in this area, though. There's
Yeah,
Yeah.
but back then there were 2 federations, USPF and NASA. Now there's 200.
right, several.
Yeah.
So wow. So what would the average Blytheville meet look like as far as turnout?
We've had as many as 80 and as few as 25.
And it kept reducing. The numbers kept going down until it got to the point where it was more than it was worth. I had to move everything out of the weight room into another room to have room for the spectators. And that was a big job. James was working. It was me and 1 or 2 of the lifters that had to move it all.
Y'all try to go to any meets if they're in the area, or just
Back
go
then.
watch now?
Jim
Now,
is still competing.
Jim is still competing. What was your last competition?
I did one in February of this year.
February, and that was where at?
It was in Jonesboro.
Was that an SPF?
WA.
The bench press.
Waffle,
And
they call it, yeah.
you did all right then, huh?
I did pretty good. I pulled 650
Pretty good. Keep it
and I
together.
finished 220. I entered the push and pull.
Right.
Yeah.
So, are you got another meet planned? You still training for a meet? Or?
I've been working out, just doing some bodybuilding work. I ain't been training heavy. I went to the world in November last year. I went there 2 years straight. Matter of fact, I went the year before last, and I went last year. And they was amazed that a guy my age was still lifting that kind of weight, you know. They said, let me see your birth certificate. I said, you ain't supposed to be doing that. I said, well.
Well, you guys are quite an inspiration to me because I didn't ever compete till I was in my early 40s.
Yeah.
So now I'm still in my 40s, but barely. I'm thinking I'm using it as an excuse. It's time to wind it down and quit. But
Yeah, I started powerlifting with Doc. I was 32 or 33 years old because I had bodybuilding up to then. I got interested and after
Jim
I got
had bird legs. Honest to God, he had a chest like this, and he had legs like this. And he told Daryl, he said, I can't squat, I can't do anything with my legs because I've got bad knees. And Daryl said, join the class. And now he's got legs like tree trunks.
So was it one of his classes that got you into this, or was this at the college?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what got me into
So you were one of his best students then, huh?
And we've been together for 38 years. And we still hang around each other.
That's good. That's good.
We've only had one guy that benched 500. Pete.
Yeah. Pete
And,
Tualupu.
Samoan.
Yeah.
Pete Tualupu was his name. He went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we saw him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Some years later.
He was Samoan royalty.
Huh?
He was Samoan royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you can add to? I mean, I'm sure you got more stories, and we'll be here for 2 weeks.
If you had to talk
Yes.
to a power lifter today, if they said, what is the best thing that I can do in this sport to keep going, what would you tell them?
Do everything as near perfect as you can. You don't jump in and grab the weight. You think about it and concentrate on what you're doing.
Stay drug free.
Good form, good technique. You got to have that. You get out of form, you're going to, like on deadlift, you pull that weight and your butt come up around you. If you keep pulling, you'll hurt yourself. There's a lot of guys do it, though. I don't see why they hurt themselves. So,
We both do deadlift sumo style. Feet out, you can keep your back flat. You do it all with your legs. Your legs are the strongest muscles in your body, bar none. So you do deadlift with your legs.
Leave a little in the tank while you're training. Don't go to failure. That's
Yeah, you
you
gotta
already
leave.
pointed that out. So
I really believe in that.
As a referee, probably the biggest detriment to powerlifters is the fact that their training partners lie to them in the gym.
Yeah, I see that.
Your squat's low enough. Your butt didn't come off the bench. You kept your knees locked on deadlift, and you know that's what they're telling them. And then they get a red light on the platform.
so
I've seen some of that, lately, when places I go, they partner, even in the warm-up room.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be telling them where to start at. They start too high, they bomb. I've seen a lot of bomb outs
That's right.
the last few years.
So how strict a judge were you? You were everything was
Strict.
Strict.
I was by the book.
They earned it if they got
You
them.
know, we're
right.
international. Daryl and I are both international referees, and that's the way we learned to referee was their rules, and that's the rules we used.
And
But the guys would tell you that if I passed their lift, it was a good lift.
See, Tobey would come in the gym while we'd be training for competition. Right, a week or so before, a couple weeks maybe before competition, she'd be calling our depth on squats, made sure we was low, deep enough. So when we went to competition, we knew where to stop at.
Well, there was good possibility I was going to be their head judge too.
Yeah.
and
So,
you was
they-
red light them if they didn't make it.
That's why I got to referee in Russia, because I red lighted Daryl in Atlanta.
That's as straight as that arm will go. And I didn't tell the referees that I couldn't straighten that arm. And she gave me a red light.
You've
The
got to
other
go to
two
the
gave me
referees
white
and tell
lights.
them when there's...
You knew it, but he didn't do the procedure.
Absolutely. No, I knew it, but it didn't do any good that I knew it, and the other two judges didn't. So, he, that was his, what he needed to do as a lifter when he got on the platform, was to make sure that those judges were aware of things like that.
So, when nowadays you see these record squats or whatever, and they're questionable. I always wondered I wonder if some of the old records were questionable, but they were probably very legit.
I think so. I think much more. We've been to a dozen different federations, and there's some that are really, really good, and they're good with their lifters. And then there's others that have just destroyed the powerlifting game. Just when you get a sissy squat and they tell you it's good, or you do your squat and then don't control the bar, and they give it to you, who are you helping?
One more thing about Tobey's refereeing. She is the only woman that's ever refereed a meet in the
USSR,
USSR.
Soviet.
So,
And then, of course, since that fell, then
No one,
stands.
there'll never be a woman
Yeah.
referee.
how did the Russians feel when you give them a red light?
Well, they asked me to referee because I gave him a red
Right.
light.
So if you give
And
him,
so-
you were
That's right.
if you're fair of him, you'll be
That's
fair
right.
of all of them.
That's right. They were impressed with that.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, you could you need to be more of an example. Everybody looks towards the lifters and powerlifting, but I think the judges could need a hero, let's say, somebody to look up to and learn from, and use it as an example.
She's been referee of the year 5 times.
7. It was
7.
counting.
Who's counting? And do you referee at all, or you guys are both pretty much?
We're still doing 2 meets a year that we referee.
Where are those at?
We do the NASA Tennessee State, and then we do Tri-State in Illinois.
Right now he's not lifting with me anymore, but I still think about the time we had.
We pushed each other. Jim got 500 deadlift long before I did.
We fed off each other, put it like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The sport of powerlifting was better for the two of them. For Mid-South, the Mid-South area, look at what Jim did for the black population. You can do this also. Look at what Daryl did for all of the students that he taught.
And the older.
That's it. They're both role models, and I don't think they're going to be equal.
If I went to a meet that Doc wasn't there, they come and ask, where you partner? I said, well,
So were you kind of a groundbreaker for? Were there very many black lifters at that time, or?
no powerlifters. We had
None.
one that started with us later on, but not around here with no black.
But you were welcomed into the sport.
Oh,
It was.
Well, powerlifting doesn't see black or white.
It's
It
all
is
on the
the least
platform. Right?
racist
I
thing
had,
I think there is.
I had 2 black people that were outstanding deadlifters. I can't do this without talking about Willie. I had a 132-pound lifter. Didn't have much bench. His squat was decent. His deadlift was phenomenal. At 132 pounds at the meet in El Dorado, he did a 529-pound deadlift, 4 times body weight exactly.
His name?
Willie Johnson. Willie is gone now. You can't talk about powerlifting without talking about Willie.
Well, that's good. Is there any other names you want to mention? Because I had to really look to find about you guys. History's really not. It's not carved.
It's history.
Right. Well, it's almost invisible. I'm trying to document some now. Any other names you want to mention? Any guys that impressed?
Bob Ross of El Dorado. put on a meet at El Dorado for over 20 years. Ran an extremely good meet.
All of the big lifters started in El
All the
Dorado.
big lifters.
Nationwide.
John Cole, the two guys from
Well,
Texas.
Eddie Cohn lived there.
Jamie Cash,
Yeah.
Doug Young.
I have a second place
Clay
trophy
Patterson.
to James Cash.
I mean, Clay,
Gus?
Clay Patterson, all them guys, Doug Young, all of them. Matter of fact, I got the magazine, just check that. And,
Gus,
and
did
now I
you?
got the number right now, it's got all the names in it.
Wow. Now, Ed Cohn is the only one that I heard that actually rung a bell to me, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have something that I want to show you. What was the records man's name for Powerlifting USA? He did
Grossmeyer? Gross?
No,
Oh,
You're close.
the guy that was in Reno.
Anyway, he took the records lifts out of the various weight classes and age classes and made a coefficient from those.
Oh, Foster.
And when he listed the winners, the top best, I was number 10 in the master lifters ever. All weights, all ages in the masters. I was number 10, head of Eddie Cohn.
That's impressive.
That would make me
Jim
feel
has
good.
always been in the top. Always.
Yeah.
They were always in the top 100. From Powerlifting USA, Mike
Right.
Lambert's magazine.
Right.
They were always in the top 100. Foster, is that who you're talking about with
No,
the formula?
Brenner.
Oh, okay.
Brenner.
Well, still not his full name. Glosson Brenner.
Glosson Brenner.
Glosson
That was
Brenner.
So, you guys you're officially retired other than the 2 meets a year. You just,
We are, yeah.
and you are active.
yeah, I do maybe one.
Maybe got some more in you, huh? Now, are you doing some coaching now, right? Still, maybe?
No, not really.
No.
It's a guy, if they come and ask me to show them something, I
Yeah.
try to show them how to do it right. Matter of fact, there was a guy asked me, he wanted me to teach him the technique on deadlifting because when I'm in the gym, they stand back and watch. And he been trying to get it right for years. So he asked me what I show him. He said he tried, I just can't get it right. I said, well, I get a chance, I'll come in and see what I do for you.
Well, it's really been a pleasure talking to you guys, and I'm sure I haven't scratched the surface of the stories, but it's really been a fun meeting.